Hey, it's Kelly. Welcome back to my channel where we talk all about gentle skincare and sometimes self-care. So if that's your vibe, please consider hitting subscribe. And it is time for May Faves, the video where I get to share with you all the skincare and beauty products that made a big impression on me this month. So let's dive right into it. Give the video a big thumbs up and let's get started. So I have to start off with the Isntree Onion Newpair Gel Cream. I just reviewed this in my summer approved moisturizers video, so you can definitely check that one out. This is a lighter textured moisturizer. It's got like a thick gel type of texture, so it's got a little bit of hydration, a little bit of moisture, good amount of occlusivity in this kind of refreshing gel texture. And this is really focused on brightening up the skin. So the star ingredient that they're really putting first and foremost out there is onion extract. Now when this line came out, I was like, onion? Really? Are you sure this isn't just like a marketing tactic to make your line sound a little bit more interesting? Like nobody's using onion, right? So I was a little bit skeptical, but actually onion is a pretty good skincare ingredient for fading scars. There's actually a lot of other like scar targeted creams that do use onion extract. So it's like, okay. All right. I'm kind of getting on board with onion extract, but there are some other ingredients in here that, like, at least in my mind, are a little bit better proven, like niacinamide. We have tranexamic acid, which is like, you know, last year I called it the ingredient du jour. Like, it is definitely like having a big moment, and I'm starting to see it pop up in more and more and more products, which I love because this ingredient is so good for brightening up the skin. It's actually particularly good for sun damage, something that I actually am still targeting and working on with my skin. And it's good for like melasma and just dark spots in general. It's just like a very good skin brightener that works in a little bit of a different way than niacinamide does. So it's nice to see them here together. This also has sodium ascorbyl phosphate. I just call it SAP. And this is actually a vitamin C derivative. And I love vitamin C derivatives because I personally can't use like straight up vitamin C. Sometimes I can, but like more often than not, it does irritate my skin. So I stay away from ascorbic acid, but I do find the derivatives to be a lot more gentler and a lot more tolerable on my skin. And they've got a lot of benefit too because they don't oxidize as quickly as like the pure form of vitamin C. You don't have to keep it in the refrigerator, but you're still going to get the antioxidant benefits, the brightening benefits, the well-aging benefit. But I just have to say, like, this is not right for my skin. You know, I love medium to slightly heavy moisturizers with some nice nourishment to it, and that's just not what this is. I've been using this like a sleeping pack. And I've been loving it because I'm so obsessed with these ingredients. I just find it so compelling, all of these brighteners in here. And I just really wanted to test drive this and see what it can do beyond just the moisturizer, you know, like factor. So I've been putting this on top of another moisturizer. I love that little bit of occlusivity that this gel has because it just gives me that little extra like security of like locking the hydration into my skin while I sleep. But that gel cream, it actually is a great sleeping pack because it doesn't overwhelm my skin and it doesn't like clog my pores with like too much rich and heavy layers. So it's like just the perfect texture. It functions really nicely to protect the skin, and this brightens the skin. Whoa, I was really surprised at how like bright and healthy it made my skin look after one use. I was like, wow, this really works so good. And even as a sleeping pack, you know, even on top of another moisturizer, the brighteners still get into the skin and they still do their job. So this isn't really the traditional use for this cream. I kind of like hacked my way to getting this onto my skin, but it's working. And I have to say, like in spring, which we're like almost more like moving into summer now, but I have to say, like in spring, my allergies really flare up. It can kind of like result in like red, inflamed, and kind of dull skin. And when my skin is inflamed, I'm more likely to get pimples, which I've definitely been struggling with some of that. And the aftermath, the dark marks, I have quite a few on my face right now that I've been, you know, trying to fade. And so I've added this into my brightening routine because of course I do use other things as well, but I've added this and I do feel like it's accelerating my results, and I'm just like like, you know, those dark marks that were getting me like so down, I'm like, okay, they're not so bad anymore. So I'm really enjoying this. If you're looking for a sleeping pack maybe, or a brightening moisturizer, right? But maybe even as a sleeping pack, something that's going to give you results while you sleep, I highly suggest this one. Next up, I want to talk about the Avene Cicalfate cream. And I have a really up and down relationship with this product, as I probably have shared this before. You know, really when it comes down to it, I do feel like this cream, like when I first tried it out, I felt like it was actually too heavy for my skin. This is really targeting very dry skin. And as much as I complain about having dry skin, you know, my dryness is not full on classically dry skin. I'm dealing with dehydration. I do have combination skin. There's other stuff happening on my skin that sometimes that really thick, rich, heavy, and occlusive cream that's targeted towards classically dry skin doesn't always work for my dryness, my combination dryness. So I was just kind of feeling like this wasn't quite right for me. And it was a little bit of a disappointment, honestly, because I've heard so much like good things about this. And I know actually a few of you have actually recommended it to me. So it was kind of hyped up. It's kind of expensive, I will say. And I was just kind of disappointed with that. Second thing I have to tell you is my very first tube of this was actually split. I bought this off a skin store, like I said, right at the tail end of winter. It was very cold outside when this shipped, and that's the problem here. So what happened is the water element just completely split away from the cream. And when you like shook the tube, you could hear the water moving around in it. The first time I squeezed it out onto my hand, I got all this blue water. I was like, what the? Gross. And then when I squirted it out into my hand, it was like that cottage cheesy texture. Ugh. So gross, right? And I was like, this can't be right. And I looked it up, and this is actually like an issue that happens with this cream in extreme temperatures. And that's definitely what was going on in the end of winter in Wisconsin, like extremely cold temperatures. So that's what happened. But Skin Store was great. They replaced this for me, no problem. Once I got the replacement, it took a while. Once I got the replacement, I kind of just put it to the side because I was like, this isn't for me. And then I started going through some pretty extreme dryness, you know, around my chin. I'm always talking about that, right? I started going through some extreme dryness, and I was like, well, what's the richest like kind of cream that you can think of? And I was like, oh yeah, this stuff. So I put a little bit of it just around my chin, and I was like, probably gonna wake up with some clogged pores, because that's what happened the first time I used this. And I didn't. And I was like, okay. And my skin felt better. It felt really protected. This has like a gentle calming factor to it. It's not like La Roche-Posay Cicaplast, which has like it like blasts your skin with anti-irritation. This is a much more gentler type of cream that's really more targeting a lot of moisture and just really kind of like facilitates like healing and skin repair rather than like calming irritation quickly. But it's very gentle, and it felt really good on my skin. Like it was just the right thing that I needed for that right type of like, you know, itchy dryness. So I was like, okay, this feels good. So then I did it again. I was probably gonna get clogged pores now. Didn't happen. And so I was like, okay, for some reason, this is working for my skin right now. Maybe I'm just like so extremely dried out at this point that this is what I need. So next up is the Ghost Democracy Softglow Facial Oil. And I've been really interested to try this brand because I've been seeing them a lot on Instagram over the past year. There's a lot of hype behind this brand, and they do create fragrance-free products. They don't use essential oils or artificial fragrance, and I don't think that they use drying alcohol in any of their products either. So it's definitely one of those brands that like I've been seeing a lot with a philosophy that's somewhat similar to mine. And they actually did send me a PR package a couple of months ago, and it took me a long time to get around to trying it out. Even though I was excited about it, I was like, now's not the time. But one of the very first things that I picked out from that box that I really wanted to put on my face immediately was this Softglow facial oil. This is really interesting because it's got a blend of 11 different oils in it, but it's got a high percentage of cloudberry oil. Now, this is actually an oil that I know has worked for my skin in the past. It's particularly good for barrier issues or dehydrated skin. I did use an oil. One of the very first oils that I used that like really turned me onto facial oils was from Lumine. It is a fragrance product, so that's why I haven't used it in the last couple of years. But when I first used Lumine back in like 2018, it really made my skin feel good. You know, there's those oils that feel moisturizing, and then there's those oils that make your skin go, oh, because it like really just gets in there and just like, it really helps with dehydration. Cloudberry oil is one of those types of oils, and so I was excited to see it in here because I haven't used it in a while. And it is actually an oil that has a good omega fatty acid profile. It's got a really high amount of omega-3 and 6. That's really what you want to look for if you are looking to target dehydration or your moisture barrier with a facial oil. This also has cottonseed oil and meadow foam seed oil. Meadow foam is actually what's in Laneige Cream Skin Refiner. So yeah, I was pretty excited about this blend. No fragrances, no essential oils. I'm always game to try a new facial oil. I was running low on my favorites, so I slotted this into my skincare routine pretty quickly, and it never left my skincare routine. I've actually been wanting to talk about this for a while, but I wanted to really give it a full robust testing period. Then I kind of forgot that I'd never talked about it. I really like this. It is more of like a medium weight texture. It's very fluidy. It's got great absorbency. It doesn't feel really heavy on the skin. If you're familiar with the ordinary bee oil, it's not even as heavy as that. It's close, but not quite as heavy. But it's got a little bit more of a medium kind of feel on the skin, which I'm fine with because my skin benefits so much from oil. Like I will adjust the rest of my skincare routine to accommodate like a little bit more of a medium weight oil. Feels really great with good absorbency, and it does give me that sensation on my skin that I really look for in oils. And I've really been trying to target that omega fatty acid profile with like especially good 3 and 6 omega fatty acids, because that's really what benefits my type of skin. So that's really what this does, and I've just been loving it so much. And it just, like I said, it naturally slotted into my skincare routine, and it's been serving me so well. There's one thing I don't like about this though, and that's actually the packaging. And I think this is something, you know, Ghost Democracy, pretty new brand, pretty small brand. I'm guessing that like packaging, the budget there, probably not that much. So I don't want to go super harsh on them, but this is really an opportunity to improve because the product itself, like it just doesn't suit this packaging. The dropper itself is has a very wide opening. This is a very fluidy type of oil. It's not really thick, and so it actually just like kind of like drips and pours out of the dropper before you've even like been like pressing down on the dropper. Do you know what I mean? So it can actually get quite messy. I'll take the dropper out and it's dripping all over the bottle in my hand before I've been able to really kind of precisely drop it out. I'm getting used to it. Like, you know, you do have to adjust to it, and you know to be very careful with it. But there's still times where I'm dripping it down the bottle, I'm getting it on my counter, and it's kind of annoying. It is, you know, with so many oils in it, it is a little bit on the pricier side. I think it's $38, which in my mind is a fair price for an oil blend. Oil blends tend to be more expensive. But with that kind of drippy packaging, you could be losing some of your somewhat expensive product, right? So that's just kind of one thing that I want to mention. If you guys are interested in checking this one out, be careful. Next up is another product from Avene. I'm on a roll with them. This is their XeraCalm Lipid Replenishing Cleansing Oil. Now, okay, first things first. Most of us here are K-beauty fans. This is not like your first cleanser, like an oil cleanser that really helps to remove like makeup and sunscreen and all of that. This is not something you apply to dry skin, work it into your skin, emulsify it, rinse it off, and then use a foaming cleanser, right? This is actually in that process. This would be the second cleanser. It's so confusing. I have this problem too with Bioderma. They have another cleansing oil product that it's like, wait a second, what is this? This is like more of your traditional cleanser, not necessarily something that you're going to put on dry skin to break up makeup. So I just wanted to put that out there. But this is a really beautiful moisturizing cleanser for the skin. You know, I always recommend when your skin is really dry and irritated to use a milk cleanser. But I always say, like, sometimes they leave that filmy residue on your skin that just like, it doesn't make your skin feel clean, right? But I really do gravitate towards cleansers that add a little bit of moisture into my skin. And that's what this does. But instead of being like a milk cleanser format, it's like an oil, foaming oil gel type of format. This uses evening primrose oil. Speaking of omega fatty acid profiles, this has good omega-6 fatty acid content to it. And that's what's so good for restoring your skin's moisture barrier. It really gets in there and replenishes that lipid layer, hence the name of this product. And as I mentioned, my skin has been in this area so incredibly dry, like very imbalanced skin. And I have been using some of my milk cleansers and it's been fine, but this really kind of rocked my world. Because like I said, I haven't really experienced anything quite like this. It's kind of like a loose gel texture, but you can tell there's moisture to it. You get it onto your skin and like that moisture just like infuses into your skin immediately, especially in your dry areas that go like, ooh, thank you for the moisture. And then there's actually like a very, 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 very low foaming quality to this. So I still get that kind of like sensation that I'm using like a foaming cleanser. I mean, it's very, very low foam, but I still get that sensation like I'm using like a gel type of cleanser, but I'm getting all the moisture like a milk cleanser. And then it washes away really cleanly without any residue. And I just really like the oil element of this. It's exactly what my skin is craving when it's at its driest, when it's at its most vulnerable, maybe even when it's a little bit irritated from all that dryness and especially like dehydration. This feels so comforting, so soothing, but none of the drawbacks of like milk cleansers. So I have a makeup product that I want to share with you from NYX. This is their Bear With Me Concealer Serum. Now with sensitive skin, I know I've shared the struggle before, but like it's really hard for me to find base makeup that does not make my skin itch and crawl. I am so sensitive to the fragrant compounds that are very often found in like foundations and BB creams and stuff. I have a really hard time with fragrance in makeup, and then sometimes there's essential oils, sometimes there's even drying alcohol, especially in the more liquidy types of foundations, and it's just like, ugh. I have my handful of stuff that I found years ago that works for me, and I just stick with it because it's just, trying new stuff is usually a disappointment for me. Like it's just really tough, you know what I mean? So anyways, like back in April, I was looking for a new concealer, and I was looking for something a little bit more affordable, so I was looking at NYX on Ulta, and I knew there was a couple of concealers I've used from them that worked, so I was going to try a couple of different ones. And then I saw this, and definitely the word concealer serum like drew me in. I was like, because I'm really like very interested in this whole like marriage of like makeup and the skincare world coming together. I'm seeing so many more makeup products that say they have skincare benefits, and I'm even seeing like some skincare that has makeup benefits. So I'm kind of liking how these two worlds are coming together. So I was curious about this, checked out the ingredients, no nonsense. There's no fragrance in there, no fragrant compounds, no essential oils, no drying alcohol. I was like, okay, I really want to try this out. It had really good reviews. So when I got my order, this was like the thing I was the most interested in trying. And I was like, wait a second, is this a concealer though? Because it's really reminding me more of like a lightweight foundation. But it's also kind of giving me concealer vibes. So how I would describe this, I would describe this as like a really lightweight foundation, because it's got the light airy feel that like concealer has on the skin. You know how foundation can feel heavy, but sometimes concealer doesn't. It has more of that lighter concealer feeling on the skin, but it really does have the coverage of a concealer. So this is actually something I just use one little pump, and I just dot this like across my face, and then I just buff it in with a makeup brush. It's so light, but it's got really good coverage that really evens out my skin, and it actually covers dark marks pretty good to the point where I don't feel like I want to use a separate concealing product. So this really actually answers for me the problem of wanting like the coverage of makeup, but not the weight and the feel and the heaviness of makeup on my face. I don't want to feel like I'm wearing like a mask on my face, you know? Over the years, I've just been like more like less and less inclined to wear heavy makeup. You know what I mean? Like I just don't like how it feels on my skin. And then after like the whole pandemic and everything, I'm like not wanting to wear any makeup, you know, especially with like wearing masks and stuff. I've just been gravitating towards the lightest base makeup that I can find. And actually what I'd been doing is just like sometimes just wearing concealer, but that didn't always like cut it. You know what I mean? This does. I'm like really impressed with this. I just love how it feels on my skin. It's so airy. I forget that I'm wearing it, but it's got really good coverage for being so light on the skin. I'm just like amazed. So, you know, I like to wrap up my monthly favorite videos with like some food for thought, or maybe a lesson that I learned during the month. And I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to talk about this month. And then I started to realize so many of the conversations I've actually been having with other people, especially with other creators, has really been revolving around the idea of boundaries, energy, and time. And I was like, hey, this is actually something I'm dealing with. Other people are also, you know, talking to me about this too. This can't just be like an isolated thing. More people are probably experiencing, you know, struggling with how to set your boundaries on your energy and on your time. Especially as like the spring is, we're getting deeper into spring. The summer is almost here. I really do feel like this is a high energy time, and it can be a high, like busy time. Do you feel like your schedule is like starting to book up a lot faster? You have a lot more events and things to go to, especially like as we're all kind of like shaking off some of COVID a little bit. I feel like we're getting really ramped up with like our social like calendar and stuff. And I do feel like the last couple of years really did teach us the value of time and really made us sit and think about how we want to spend our time going forward. And I think that that's where the struggle is coming in right now, because we've come out of this experience knowing that time is so precious and valuable, and so is our energy, and we know we want things to be different. And yet we're almost kind of getting pulled back into some of the older patterns of like, go, 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 busy, 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 event, 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 right? Somebody wants to, you know, have drinks or go out or whatever, and you can't say no, right? The pressure to be a people pleaser and say yes. I feel that push and pull too, you know, like that old way and that new way, and what you really need for your energy and for your time and for your boundaries, and learning how to communicate that super duper hard, because you almost feel guilty like telling people no, right? So I guess the message that I wanted to give to you as, you know, the energy of this season starts to really ramp up and we start to become a lot more busy, is just really feel confident in advocating for your own boundaries. If something doesn't feel 100% right in your bones, like, yes, I really want to do that, I really want to go to that event, or I really want to do this thing, or I want to see this person, if it's that, then like absolutely, that's a yes. But if there's any kind of hesitation, if there's any kind of like doubt in your mind, like, I don't really want to do that, I don't really want to see this person after so many years, or like, I don't really want to like give my weekend away to this like party or this event, feel confident in bowing out. You know, do it great, you know, graciously, but really do it with your energy and your time and your boundaries in mind. It's absolutely okay. You know, it really is. And in fact, I think a lot of people admire that. I know I do. I've had people say no to me, and I've actually really admired it, because I do struggle sometimes with like that guilt of saying no to somebody. So when I see somebody do it so gracefully, it's really an inspiration to me. Like, it's absolutely okay to advocate for yourself, for your energy, and for your boundaries. So I just want to leave you with that. You're not disappointing somebody, especially if you're just being very honest about where you're at right now. But whatever is right for you, don't be afraid to advocate for that. So I do want to know your favorite products from May. So let me know in the comment box below. If you like this video, you watched all the way through, but for some reason you have not hit subscribe yet, please, I would be so honored if you would subscribe to my channel. I do release a lot of new skincare and sometimes self-care content just like this video. So hit subscribe and maybe turn on the notifications too, so you're never out of the loop when the new content drops. I really hope you guys are healthy, happy, and safe, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. I love you so much. Bye.